Floating license server is used by a software vendor to allow a customer the flexibility of running their application on any computers within a network and control access to that application by granting licenses from a licensed server. There's basically three parts to a floating license system. There's the license server itself, which grants access to run an application. There's a license monitor that's used to configure and start the license server. And finally, there's the protected application that can be run from any computer within the network. In order to generate a floating license server, you could actually, without doing any programming, create a floating license system using the Quick License tool. Where you configure a license, you'll then take that license and use the Add License tool to wrap the unprotected version of the application to produce the protected version of the application. You'll then use the Make Server tool to generate the license server and license monitor applications, and then those are the applications that you will distribute to your customers. This entire system is fully demonstrated within an extended version of the video that you can see if you go to excelsoftware.com, click on the videos link, and then scroll down to the Quick License Server video, and it'll actually demonstrate there how you can configure the license, build the protected application with Add License, and finally generate the license server and license monitor applications. In this video, though, we'll demonstrate how a floating license system actually looks from the vantage point of your customer. We've now built the three applications required for our floating license system: the protected application, the license server, and the license monitor. These applications would be deployed on the customer's network. Normally they would be put on different computers within the network, but for the case of this video, for illustration, we'll put them all on the same computer. Every computer on a network has a unique IP address that's used to uniquely identify that computer. We can actually see what the IP address is by holding down the Shift and OS keys when you launch the license server. Otherwise, launching the license server simply starts it and it runs silently in the background. So we'll hold the Shift OS keys and double click, and here we can see that this computer's IP address is given by 4 sets of numbers separated by periods, and we can also see the server port that's going to be used to communicate with the license server. So we'll go ahead and run the license server. On a Mac or Windows machine, it can be set up so that it automatically launches the license server whenever the machine is turned on. Now that the license server is running in the background just like it would be on a customer's network, we'll need to launch the license monitor. On first launch, we'll need to activate it so it's uniquely activated and linked to a particular computer within the customer's network. We can do this in various ways. If you recall, when we configure the license for this simple example, we just present an activation dialog, but it could be automated in various ways through an automated activation server. So in this case, we're just going to type the activation code on this first launch to activate the license monitor, and we'll also need to provide some information about how the license monitor can connect to the license server. So we'll have to identify the IP address of the license server. We'll apply that, and we've now provided the information required. So here we have the license monitor window. It's ready to connect to and start up the license server so it can start processing licenses. So we simply click the connect button. It's now connected to the license server, and we click the start button and it's now processing licenses. There are other options we can get to from the license monitor, but we'll ignore those for this particular demonstration. We've covered the essential process of starting the license server, activating the license monitor, and starting the license server so it can now process license requests. So we can go ahead and quit the license monitor. Now that our license server is up and running on the network and processing license requests, we can take our protected application to any computer on the network and double click to launch it and connect to the license server. when it does the connection, it needs to know the server's IP address and port on first launch. There's a couple of different ways of doing that. One approach is to take a copy of the server data file that was generated when the license monitor was configured and put a copy of that file in the folder with the protected application. Then when you double click the protected application, it automatically connects to the license server and is granted a license. And we're now up and running. Let's see what would happen if the license server would be stopped, for example. So if we open up the license monitor, connect to the license server again, and in this case, we're going to go ahead and shut down the license server. So the license server is no longer running. If we would try to launch a protected application, we obviously will get an error message. As I mentioned, there are a couple of different ways of providing the server IP address and port on first launch of a protected application. Let's say we've taken our distributed or our protected application throughout the computers on our network, but we have not included a copy of the server data file. On first launch, a dialog is presented where we can actually just type in the IP address. So here we'll type in the IP address of the license server, which is already running on this network. Port number is OK, so we'll click OK, and now we're up and running again with the protected application. Each launch thereafter just automatically gets the license granted and begins running. In this short video, we've seen how you can take the Quick License application to configure a license, build it into a ticket file, then wrap that license with add license around an application to generate a protected version of the application. We've then used the Make Server tool to generate a license server and a license monitor application. Those three applications can then be distributed to a customer's computer. The customer then can launch the server, launch the license monitor to configure and start the server so it begins processing license requests, and finally take a copy of the protected application around all the computers on the network, and they can be launched as long as they fall within the restrictions in the number of total licenses concurrently active that are managed by the license server.